you are a salesperson, and in order to be a salesperson, let's talk about some of the things that are going to make you successful in sales. So we've got 3 keys so far. Know your competitor, know thyself. Your second key is kind of ask the right questions.
Right questions.
And then what did we just say?
I think we were talking about overcoming and closing the deal.
Well, hello and welcome back to today's episode of the Multifamily Mind. My name is Steve Wunch. I am your host, and I'm here along with someone who is awesome in this space. Speaking of space, you're looking a little Princess Leia-like.
I thought I'd just come in with a great intro, a little different. Let's do
Coming
it.
to you from a galaxy far, far away
Far beyond.
is Lissi Daniels. Lissi is a national speaker who has dedicated over 16 years of her career to the multifamily industry. She has proven to be an excellent leader who supports teams and drives talent development. Lissi is an expert in leadership development, training, performance, evaluation, and is committed to helping individuals thrive. Her love for education and mentoring is evident in her voluntary work with the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas and Tarrant County, where she contributes to the Education Committee and serves as an NAAEI faculty member. Lissi is passionate about empowering others by sharing her knowledge. I love your little posters or your pictures are flexing your muscle. She's passionate about empowering others by sharing her knowledge, motivating them, and inspiring them. She graduated with a BA in Mass Communications from Southwestern Oklahoma State University in 2001. And I am so thrilled that you are here today, Lissi. Welcome to the Multifamily Mind.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Steve. I am so happy and thrilled to be here and just to have a great conversation and make it fun. I came far, far away in my galaxy, so we're going to make sure we have some fun today.
We will. And I can't think of anything more fun than talking about sales. And you're an expert in that arena in terms of the multifamily universe. I love that we've got this space thing going on now. All of a sudden, these words, it's a galaxy of choices and options.
Infinity and beyond, you can do it. That's the sale motivation.
Yeah, I got really keyed up when you chose sales as your, choice of topic today, because, a lot of multifamily companies over the last, say, I guess maybe 10 years, I've seen some of the bigger organizations like Equity Residential, Avalon Bay, moving from the idea of being like a multifamily owner operator to being more of a sales organization. Mm-hmm. Most certainly, Equity reinvented their whole career pathing and the way that they, looked at leasing. And I think that's an interesting idea, and I love it because leasing is selling. And I really hope that today people are going to, this episode is really appropriate for our frontline boots on the ground peeps that are in the leasing office, working hard to keep apartments occupied, to keep vacancy low. So let's just crack this egg open, baby, and get started.
Right. Dive in. I mean, when you talk about sales, I love sales. I think it's been one of my niche for such a long, long time. But again, I started in sales as a leasing professional a long time ago. We will not tell long time ago time frame. But when I started, I never thought that even beforehand in college, I remember doing boots on the ground sales. I worked for a newspaper, college newspaper. And then my first job after graduating was with a local newspaper company. And I had to sell ad spaces in a newspaper. You want to talk about some hardcore sales?
That's serious business there, my dear.
Yes. And so, that background and the growth and then coming into multifamily and then just doing sales itself, I think it's so important. And you're right, things are changing. And in the factor of just developing where our teams need to know that we are first runner-up, our salespeople. And it's about positive first impressions. It's about knowing your competitive market. It's about developing those relationships and building them for growth and really working towards your pipeline to keep them, right? And in sense of that.
Yeah, and a lot of folks that are out there listening to this episode, Lissi, I think are probably folks that have kind of found their way into a leasing position, maybe like we did. I fell into mine, and I fell in love with it. This is my 31st year in multifamily.
Wow.
So
I
if you want to
aim
talk
to
about,
be like you.
if you want to talk about a galaxy far, far away. But
That's awesome.
when I was leasing, I didn't really think of myself as a salesperson. I looked more
Really?
at myself like a consultant.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so I want our conversation to kind of help our audience learn how to pivot that perception from you're more than just a consultant. And, at my company, we've got a sales organization here, and we often joke about do you remember the movie, Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin and Jack Lemmon and a real amazing cast? And Jack Lemmon is a salesperson in this company. He goes to pour coffee, and Alec Baldwin shouts out, "Put that coffee down. Coffee is for closers." Right? Here,
Yes.
I don't want to scare
That's
the
how it
crap out of
is.
anybody just yet, but so really helping us to evolve our perception to you are a salesperson, and in
Hmm.
order to be a salesperson, let's talk about some of the things that are going to make you successful in sales, and then let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit more maybe after that about like how to continue some of the old school things that you and I know that work.
Wow. I know. We don't go back to old school.
Well,
But
I have a theme. I have a theme. Old school is the new school. So
oh, that is so true. That is so true. I think it really starts with when you are a salesperson and you're really coming onto your community and your your market. You want to make sure you know what is your market about, your demographic, who is your competitors, who are the ones that you have to really research and understand your competition. That's all part of that sales. That's the initial part of it. That's like doing your research and understanding, but identifying your unique selling proposition of who you are, and
yep,
making sure that you then develop that strategic plan as a salesperson. Like, okay, this is my market, this is my pipeline coming in, this is my competition. Why am I better than the other competition? Why do I stand out? What is it that I can offer and how I can build that? And I
love
think you
that.
have to kind of start with that at the very beginning phase of just understanding, right?
Yep. And so like doing your due diligence, that's like key. And I think no matter what role you play on the administrative team at the property, whether you're the manager, the assistant manager, a leasing consultant, even maybe an activities director, getting your boots in the car and your
Mm-hmm.
butt in the car to go and
Yes.
visit your competition in person.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
Well, because you want to see what value you have versus them. It's like you have to know what your competition brings, whether that is just their community, the location, what they offer, their benefits, but also their sales team. Because at the
Yep.
end of the day, you want to make sure you stand out. So how do you stand out versus them? What are the things that they have versus that you don't have? And then what are the things they're doing that you're like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do that. So I can win that over. It's just really, we've all shopped our competitors. And I think it's so important that that's something that any new leasing professional should do, but even an existing experienced professional should do so they can
Yep.
keep on track, because there's always new things, new developments around, always new stuff coming into your location.
Well,
And you
and
want to make sure you stay on top.
there's always turnover, just like
Yes.
at your property, there's been, a couple of different people that have been in that leasing seat, and the same thing happens at your competitor. And so when you find out there's somebody new there, that's an opportunity to go back and reshop, re-experience. I
Yeah.
always would say, you want to know what your customers are experiencing
Yes.
when they go to your comp. If they walk in the door and there's nobody around and people are not looking up from their
Yeah.
desk,
Gosh.
and
Yes.
you're standing there looking at your watch like, hello, is anybody here? You kind of know already that you've got an upper advantage if your customer experience
Hmm.
is different. That's the
Yes,
key.
it's key. The key is customer experience and making sure you make it your positive first impression, but it's also asking those right questions, right? It's almost one of those things I always say when I teach or I facilitate the CALP is, what is it that makes you stand out different, uniquely? What is it, that story you want to tell about your community that you're not seeing them doing? And then when
Yep.
I do ask, when was the last time you shopped your competitors? And I don't see enough hands raised in my course classes. And I'm like, you have to shop your competitors, whether it's
Yep.
phone or in person. But I think in person makes it more to where you can really see what's going on.
Well, I suggest all any way your customers are reaching out to your competitor, you should shop them that way. You should email them, see what kind of response you get. Is it a bot? Is it a person? Is it a person using a template, or is it someone who's really good and they're actually responding on the fly and answering your question? So I mean, internet shop them, get online, see what story they're telling.
I know it's all of that, right? It's all about asking the right questions. It's all about making sure that their experience and following up on that and seeing what is it that their needs and wants are, because ultimately you want them to come live at your community. Yeah.
The thing I love mostly of what you said this morning is you brought up the word questions like several times, and asking the right questions, because that's the key. How many times have you heard a leasing consultant say, it's just so awkward, I don't know what to talk about when I'm on the tour? And, so I love the fact that you've identified questions are the key.
It is.
And when I teach, sales 101, it really is. We spend a lot of time talking about the question and how the question is the key. First, we've got knowledge and know your competitor, know thyself. That's your first key. Your second key is kind of,
it's knowing the right questions to ask. It's diving in and asking those open-ended questions, and not those yes or no ones, responses. You really want to know, what is it that they're looking for? What is it that they desire? What is it that they like? What are their, what brought them into your community? What was the things that, they didn't like, find out, and dive in, and don't be afraid to ask those questions, because the more you know, the better you can accommodate them for what they're looking for.
Yeah. So there is where you become that consultant. So that's one lane on the sales highway, is asking. And I hope folks were jotting down, because you were rattling off some really great open-ended questions left and right. The great thing about the Multifamily Mind, folks, is you can rewind this episode and you can watch it as many times as you want to. But yeah,
I got too excited.
Can you tell we're passionate about sales? I love it.
Yeah.
What do you like to do in your free time? What's bringing you to our area? We used to look at those questions as, well, that's just for my marketing department, because they want to know where they found out about us. Well, yeah, that's important. But if you ask the question, how did you hear about us? And they say, well, I was on your website. Well, do you know what's on your website? Look at your website. Know the story that you've already told, and don't retell it. Tell a new chapter, right?
Yes, you hit it right on the nail. Know your website, look at it, see it, so that you are prepared. I think it's all about preparation, right? When your lead is coming through the door, and when you're responding through email and you're finding out, start that conversation, build that experience. So by the time they come visit you, they're ready and you're ready, and you can have that great sales presentation. But again, it starts from day one. It starts from that moment that lead comes in and you working through it. So I do love that.
It's kind of like, do the work the right way on the front end, and it's going to be way easier for you on the back end. So when you get to that moment where it's time to say yes to the dress, it's not as hard for you, because you've done your work, and they're like right here. They're right here in the palm of your hand. And all you have to do is say, so based on what we've seen and what I've heard, I think this is the perfect place for you. Would you like to go ahead and reserve this apartment today, right?
Yeah, just go ahead and ask, right?
Yeah.
I always say, don't be afraid of asking. All they can do is tell you no, and that's okay, because then what happens is then you can learn how to overcome that with your objections and really and dive in and practice those questions. So, yeah.
And, it's not no forever, maybe. And especially if you know your competition and we're probably stacked pretty close to what they have to offer in terms of amenities and floor plan styles and finishes. So when they say no, like when you say no, what do you mean no for? Is it no because the rent is too high? Is it no because we're missing a feature or something that you were looking for that I didn't share? So look at that as an opportunity to kind of crack that nut open a little further and find out more about what they're what's still missing, right?
Exactly. That's where it goes, those discovery questions and practicing those questions and really kind of leaning into that. And, and practicing with your team member, back and forth of overcoming those objections. When I train, I always say that.
My language.
Well, but that's what it's really about, because ultimately your customer, when they're coming in, they've already did the research. They've already looked, they've already narrowed it down. They know what they're looking for. Now is your time to shine as a salesperson when it comes to closing that deal and how to go about it.
That's the key so that's our next key. So we've got 3 keys so far.
Woohoo!
I can't remember what the first 2 were, but Abby.
Research. We got research.
Know your competition.
Know
right?
your competition. Yes.
Ask the right questions.
Right questions.
And then what did we just say?
I think we were talking about overcoming and closing the deal.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
so when
it's
they
about
say no,
being prepared.
yeah, when they say no, it's not the end of the story, and don't dismiss that, because a no is actually a buying signal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we could probably turn this into a mini series on leasing.
We probably could. I love it. I love it. That's something that I love to, train on and speak on, because you're in these positions that is the front runners coming in that leasing office. So make it like the best and be prepared for what you're doing and make yourself stand out, because ultimately you're the stars. You're there, and you know your product more than anyone else or anybody in sales, right? That at the end of the day, it's your product that you have to believe and love, and then you can work through the rest of it.
For sure, that first impression can't be redone ever. Yeah, gosh, I love this. I love all the stuff that's in the atmosphere is so vital to the success of a leasing and sales person. Hi, folks. I wanted to take a quick 30-second break so that I could say, I hope you're enjoying today's episode, which couldn't be brought to you without being superpowered by Sales Mail. I mean, really, we couldn't produce this content without them. Sales Mail is the easiest and best tool for sending personalized video via email, text, and CRM. So, if you really are enjoying today's episode, it would mean a lot to me if you would visit salesmail.com so you can check out how our solutions might impact your business communications. And don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn as well. Okay, that's enough. Now back to the conversation. So we've talked a little bit about the process. Like, here's some tips. Yeah. Here's some things that you can do to help be a better salesperson, knowing your competition, being prepared with that knowledge, asking the right questions at the right time, and then and then asking even when the objection comes, being ready and not looking at it as a negative thing, but looking at it as an opportunity to continue the process. What about like the whole perception around leasing versus sales? I mean, because it is a perceptional difference. I mean, I've heard of companies now that are kind of doing away with maybe the assistant manager duty.
Yeah.
They've centralized those, assistant manager tasks. I know at Equity Residential, they kind of did away with the assistant manager role. And if you wanted to move up the corporate ladder in terms of your career pathing, you had to be really good at sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you heard other companies that kind of have that same approach?
I haven't heard any lately. I know that they were speaking about it within my previous companies, but it was nothing that was concrete as far as launching it to go full effect. But I have seen it and heard about it in our industry, that it is something that people are doing. Centralizing, it's becoming a big word of that, and the change effect of it. And, the only thing I think sometimes, like with assistant managers, they feel like if you take away all of that, what do they have? And at the end of the day, they are still growing and building to become even a property manager. So it makes it even a little bit easier to be able to get to that point as well. So I think there's so many different ways to think of it and have opinions and thoughts on it.
Well, and one of the things that I thought of too is, being really good at sales is an opportunity to even branch, because like I started leasing apartments, and then I parlayed 30 some years later. Took me a while to figure it out, but I parlayed over to the supplier partner side. So I think when you look at leasing, don't limit yourself to being a leasing consultant. Look at it. Look at it from a sales perspective. You got the opportunity to grow your book of business at your property, which helps, to grow your paycheck, because most companies offer some kind of spiff or bonus when it comes to leasing. Also, this is probably now more than folks that have just been in the industry for maybe 5 years have never been in an atmosphere where it's been extremely competitive. I'm seeing a lot of smack about concessions coming back on the table where we weren't having to offer those before. So we're really going to have to fight for leases. And so for the folks on the boots on the ground listening, we're talking sales to you, because we know that it not only matters to you and your paycheck and your family and how happy you are in your role, it matters to your company, and got to ask for it. I think you said, a lot of salespeople don't ask for the sale. Yeah, they don't. I did a study. 85% of salespeople don't ask for the business. Ooh. And this was
I think they're afraid of that. No.
Yeah, they are. That's a broad stroke at, retail, other sales organizations, not just multifamily. But if you think about it, when you go to a store and you're looking at something, a salesperson might come up and help you. How often do they ask, well, can I take this up to the register and get it wrapped up for you and ready to go? They do their thing and then they walk away and they don't ask. And I almost think it's like the ultimate betrayal when you don't ask for the sale. Hey, that's a rhyme. It's the ultimate betrayal when you don't ask for the sale.
Don't ask for the sale. We need a tagline that. I love that. It's ultimate betrayal if you don't ask for the sale. Oh my God, that's awesome, Steve.
Because
but it's the truth.
You build this rapport, you spend all this time, you go back and forth via emails or video messaging or whatever that looks like. And then they come and they see and they love it. And then you're like, okay, well, here's our application and our brochure. Just let me know if you have any questions. Have a nice one. See you later.
I know. When I hear that, my mind just stops, because I'm like, you did such an amazing job. Why would you not ask? All they could do is just ask for it, and find out why, if they do not want to make a decision that day, and follow up from that. Don't just leave them hanging, because I'm going to guarantee someone at your competition is going to grab it and they're going to ask for that sale. And that's mind boggling that it's 85. You said 85% of people 85%. Don't ask.
Google it. It's a real statistic.
It might even be clear.
I don't know. What?
I said we need to lower that percentage.
You do. And, I think, it just goes to show that we're so afraid of that. Being a salesperson is about a life of rejection. But you can't look at it in that's like a dark lens to look through.
Yes.
I look at it as it's a life full of opportunity, because if they say no, ask why. And when they tell you, they're going to tell you multiple things. I got to bring somebody back, or so who is that? Oh, well, great. Can we get them on the phone, or can I send them a virtual tour? It gives you the opportunity to keep the conversation going. And if they're not interested, period, they're going to just leave. They're not even going to say no.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Take the information. See you later. But when you are engaged and you say, I would really love for you to live in this community, and they say no, and you say, what's holding you back? What's preventing you? We have everything you're looking for. I could see you nodding your head. I could see you placing your furniture.
All the signals, everything. I used to always sit there and ask them. I like if it had to do with, I have to go and see if my, my husband or wife, I said, well, can we FaceTime them? Let's go ahead and FaceTime them. Let's you have to be a little bit more open.
You have to be a little more open, and you have to be a little more assertive. Sometimes I would say, well, don't they trust you to make this decision on your own?
I love that.
Again, it all depends on the customer and how your relationship unfolds to ask some of these questions that we're posing. But I just, ask for it.
Yeah.
You don't get 100% of what you don't ask for.
That is true. And that will stay with you. If anything, that stays with you through life. You've got to be assertive and ask for things. And that's in sales. And, it practices, it makes you practice that process and build your confidence in who you are out there, but also closing to deal when you're like, yeah, I did it. I got it, mentally in that sense. But I think you hit on something that was really cool about building relationships and having relationships, depending on how it is when you asking certain questions. And that starts from the beginning. It's so important. And I think now clients or people or your customer want that relationship. They want you to build. They want you to have that empathetic ear and listen and understand and know exactly what they're looking for, because they've done everything else. Now it's you trying to paint that picture of what they want to live in and be happy.
The better you get with questions, the better relationships you'll have. This will work for you. This will work for you in sales and leasing. This will work for you at home with your partner or your significant other or your family.
It will.
Yeah. And I think just that whole understanding the pace of the relationship. It's like on a first date, if you sat down with somebody, I have to forgive me because I always go to a dating analogy when I talk about this.
No worries.
Anyway, on a first date, would you sit down at a table and say, hi, you're really cute and I think I like you a lot. I'd like to get married and I'd like to have 17 children and I'd like to start tonight. What's going to happen?
They're either going to be like, oh, okay. Or they're going to be like, oh, this person is not my cup of tea. I'll be right back.
I got to go to the bathroom. They're never going to come back. So you have to remember, where are you at in the relationship? And that should help you determine what kind of questions you're asking. And
I like that analogy.
We're like a pinball machine today, Lissi. We are just all over the place with ideas.
But we're spitting some great nuggets out there.
We are. I love that we both have a passion. I love watching folks take one little nugget and applying it to what they do and seeing how that one little change, little thing that's different. So if you're not asking questions, if you're not asking for the business, try plugging that in. And I bet you 100% of my reputation and my money, which is not a whole lot, but I'll bet you money, you'll see that it'll have a huge impact on your results.
Yeah, it will. Definitely.
You brought up one thing earlier too, and this is probably the last thing that I'll bring to our conversation. And we're going to have you back because this has been amazingly fun. I'm hopeful that our audience is getting some good tips around how to change up their sales game when it comes to leasing. But you mentioned earlier practicing with your teammates, and I know we've both been trainers for a long time in this space, and I know whenever we bring out the role play in class, what happens? Eyes roll and
everybody gets quiet.
Right. Why is there value in practicing?
Because it's not that one saying practice makes perfect. No, I think the value of it is you get to learn your strengths and your weaknesses in practicing. And you get to have someone that you, within your peer, that can help pull and give you constructive criticism to where it can help you even advance or at the same time work towards. And I always feel like it's so important to see your peers practice and role play in the process of selling. That way you can only get better. I think it's so important. I always used to do in my trainings the role playing with a pen. I think anyone's done it as a pen, and you sell me this pen. Or a fruit. Here's an orange. Sell me this orange or apple and tell me why, and role play that and overcome any objections. But then listen carefully or listen effectively to the things that maybe that you can work towards or work on. And I think that's the significant of role playing, the significant of practicing, that'll help you become better in closing, but also just within conversation. I think that's what sales is about. That's the consulting side. It's learning how to not interview your prospect, but conversate with your prospect to be able to understand their needs. Yeah.
Conversational questioning is the key.
Yes. Very much.
I love, and what I love too is, and I want to encourage our listeners to, when you're in a class and you have the opportunity to role play, it's not about who gives the Academy Award winning presentation. That's not what we're here for. We're here in a safe environment where you can make a mistake and it's not going to matter. But if you're not going to try this out until you get to your sales floor, and then a real customer walks in the door and you try something out you've never done before and it completely flops.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing. So practice it where it's safe, where you can have a redo, where you can listen and get other ideas on how to do things differently. So I hope that folks will listen to that little tidbit and maybe change their perception on role play and practice, because it is important, especially when we're talking about new skills. And, even though we might think we're great at questions, I can't tell you how many workshops I've taught with managers and regional managers in the workshop with us. And we get to that piece around questioning and they're like, holy crap, this is a lot harder than I thought it was. And it is hard, it takes practice. And Lord help us, we want to practice when we can and when it's safe versus trying it out on the real deal, because that's likely to not be a good end result.
It won't, because then you'll be sitting there quiet, like, oh, what's that question? Oh my gosh, So yeah, you want it to be as natural as it can be, but at the same time, have fun with it. I think that's the most important too within sales. Sales is about the challenge of closing the deal, but it's also about building the relationships and having a good time, and and practicing, like you were saying, and everything else that goes with what we've been talking about. So
people want to buy from people they like. So when you can make the experience all about them, and that's where your questioning strategy is so vital. Be interested, not interesting. And like my mother told me for years, you were given 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason. So listen twice as much as you talk. And when you talk and you ask questions, they're doing the talking. Everybody loves, it's all about me, right? Who doesn't love that? So create that customer experience for them that really makes them feel like they're the only person in the world that matters, right?
Exactly.
And you build relationships, they go tell their friends. I mean, you don't know how many people they may know that are looking to make a move. So everything that we think folks do, it's an opportunity to build or renew a relationship with a prospective resident. And this stuff works. This works when people are upset about stuff and you start asking them questions. Like, maybe you're not going to say, well, what about that late fee has you so upset? Maybe our question is instead, have you tried logging into the portal and paying your rent online? It's a lot easier and you can do it from anywhere, So anyway, I digress.
But I love it. It's true. It helps you. It really does.
Yeah, and being intentional with the questions that you ask. It's not a script. It's a person that matters, right? Well, this has been so much fun. I am anxious to hear what my producer thinks, because she listens and she learns about multifamily. So I think she's probably had a really great opportunity to learn about leasing today, leasing and sales. But before I let you go, Lissi, we have a question that we like to ask here on the Multifamily Mind, and I ask it to all of our guests. So you are no exception. And my question for you is this: we use the word audacious here, and at the Multifamily Mind, we define audacious as extremely bold, daring, recklessly brave, fearless, kind of like that, fearless explorer who, I'll climb that mountain no matter how high, no matter what the weather's like. I'm going to spelunk that cave because it needs to be spelunked. So for you, what is your most audacious take on multifamily right now?
Oh man, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
Double take. I love the way multifamily is growing and adapting into just a new thing. It's like a new innovation. I love where we're seeing all of the things with podcasting and the people and the growth and the creative sides all coming out. And I think at the end of the day, it gives individuals opportunities for growth. It gives individuals opportunities to believe that they can do anything that's possible within our space of our industry and grow no matter what role that they have. And so it's to affinity and beyond. I had to go back there with sales, but within multifamily. And I'm so passionate about it. So
love that. I love just we were kind of forced to innovate when COVID-19 hit, and we've kind of all of a sudden sort of said, this isn't quite as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% that it's really cool to be able to see how we're growing and morphing and changing and becoming different than we were in the past. And I think that's awesome. I'm so grateful for the time that we've had today. Lissi, I hope you'll come back and join me again soon. I do want to let our listeners know, Lissi is a coach and a consultant and a independent contributor that you can leverage in your organization. If you may not have a trainer on your staff, Lissi can step in that fractional moment and provide your teams with the coaching and guidance that they need to be successful in their roles. And she also has her own podcast. It's called Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast with Lissi Daniels. You can find that podcast through the Multifamily Media Network, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And we'll make sure that our listeners have all the links that they need to find you in all those places. But thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Steve Wunch and Lissi Daniels on the Multifamily Mind. And remember, always be audacious. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Multifamily Mind Podcast, brought to you by SalesMail, the easiest way to send personalized video via email, text, and CRM. To learn more, go to salesmail.com. And remember, always be audacious. Until next time, I'm Steve Wunch. Have a great week.